For this week's unboxing, we will be taking a look at the Audi RS4 from Alpha Model. This is one of their 1/24th scale resin kits. It is a curbside kit, meaning it doesn't have an engine, but I'm still curious to see what is inside the box. So let's go over the parts in a general look first, and then go into a bit more detail further on in the video. Just to get the elephant out of the room, yes, it is a curbside kit as with most of the Alpha Model kits. It does make it a lot cheaper, but that does mean that you don't have detail as far as an engine goes. For me, not a big deal, as that would be hidden away anyway after the build had been finished. But in this case, the chassis is also just simply a flat, smooth piece, nothing to talk about. The main interior tub has the rear seats molded in. Would have liked to see these molded separately, as if you decide to paint it in any other color than entirely black or entirely one color, it makes it a lot harder to paint it, of course. So if this piece would have been separated, it would be much easier just to paint it in a different color than the rest, but now it just needs a bit of masking. Nonetheless, the details in the seats, all of the panel lines, nice and crisp, smooth molding, nothing further to complain about. The dashboard itself is nicely detailed, has a lot of the details already molded in, super smooth casting, nice panel lines, and incredibly sharp details even for the smallest and finest pieces. Same goes for the door panels. Again, nice smooth casting. It has a couple of separate pieces, as you can see here, for the armrests and the door handles, and some of the door pulls as well, so that makes it a lot easier to paint all of those in the colors they need to be, or add a two-tone to the interior. The front seats are also molded in one big piece, so it has the seat frames, rails, and side pieces already on there, and also the back piece, so you can simply just paint it all at once. Now it could be that the back needs to be in a different color on these, but I'm not actually sure. Nonetheless, the rest looks really nice. Even though the Audis sometimes have a cool pattern of stitching in these seats, it doesn't seem to be done right here. Just a plain simple seat. Not sure if that's an option or not, but it would have been cool to see the sort of hexagon style that usually is embroidered in these seats by Audi. Nonetheless, still a nice clean seat. The center console is also a separate part. It does have a couple of pieces that still need to be put on, like I think the handbrake, the gear selector, and also some sort of armrest piece here. Even though it is still already pretty nice if it would have been molded in one, it is nice to see all those parts as separate pieces. So for the door panels, the armrests themselves were made out of a separate part. This one is incredibly nicely detailed. It has detail all around, so you can even just grab it here with your tiny little fingers if you'd like to, and all the buttons are on there too. There are a couple more sprues with the smallest parts for the interior. I believe these are the exterior door handles, so just skip that. And then some of the other pieces, I'm might be exterior. So a couple pieces for the interior. This is part of the center console, I believe, for the rear seats, the gear selector, and I believe this is the main base plate for the rear view mirror. So like I said, in the door panels, the door pulls themselves were missing, so you can see them right here. Makes it a real breeze to paint them and not have to paint the tiniest of details. Right here is the rear view mirror that is missing, but it is separate in the bag. The shark fin antenna for on the roof, and some more of these vents for the exterior somewhere. The final sprue for the interior has the steering wheel on it, iconically recognizable Audi steering wheel, super nicely detailed. The buttons are on there, all of the panel lines, so to speak, are there, so you can do this in carbon fiber and this in Alcantara, or just leave it as is and paint it one color. Some more grills for in the front bumper. I believe in this case it has a cutout right here for some of the lights to go in, and also the main buckets for the headlights. As you can see right here, some clear parts still need to be installed in here, so it is a multi-part piece, giving it a super nice three-dimensional detail. The front grille is also incredibly well done. It does have some indentations right here that you can see for, I believe, a license plate to be put onto, or just fill those in and leave it nice and clean, as I probably will, because I don't really like a license plate obscuring this nice grille. The taillight housings are also separate parts, so it makes it easier to paint them in a nice reflective finish. And you can also see the incredible detail that has been put in here, replicating the ones Audi has made incredibly well. The exhaust tips are made out of resin. In this case, not a really big deal. It could be pretty complicated to make these out of metal, and on a lot of these RS Audi models, they are painted in a gloss black anyway. The side mirror, there are supposed to be two, the other one is in the bag. Sometimes they break off the sprue, no big deal. Both of them incredibly well done. Nice details, super sharp, crisp lines too. As usual with an alpha model kit, the suspension isn't there, and the way the wheels and brakes are mounted is always done the same way. So for the brakes, you have a main center piece for the disc, and that is made out of resin, and all the other parts for the details are made out of a photo etch sheet that I will show later on. The calipers are also nice and separate, so it makes it easier to paint them in whatever color you want. The rear one's of course a lot smaller as usual on these Audis, and the front one's nice and big. The wheels come with some tires, some nice detail on the center for all of the nuts and bolts. The center caps and the general detail on the wheels is super well done. Not my favorite design, but maybe I'll go for some aftermarket options anyway, but we'll see during the build. So as far as clear parts go, we have a couple ones that are cast in clear resin for the headlights, the taillight lenses, some of the details inside of the headlight buckets themselves as well. Nice and clear parts. The rear ones of course need to be painted clear red partially, and the front ones just need to be left clear. The main body is cast out of one big piece. The smaller details that you've already seen are separate of course, for some of the inlays on the grills, the exhausts, the buckets for the headlights, taillights, even the door handles and mirrors, but the rest is pretty much already molded in. The panel lines are nice and sharp, super clean all around. They do need a little bit of adjustment as some of the parts are filled in here and there, no big deal. And it seems like some of them are missing. I believe there needs to be one right here, and also here on the top for all of the A, B, and C pillars. And generally looking for the rest of them, they all seem to be there. So a minor inconvenience, but it is just a simple straight panel line that needs to be scribed out, and no big problem. The headliner also has a little bit of detail on the inside, not too much, but just enough. Now for all of the additional detail parts that weren't shown in the resin parts, There are a couple of sprues full of aftermarket add-ons that are not aftermarket, as this is just included in the kit. Normally these photo etch sheets would be add-ons aftermarket, but they are not. Never mind, just let's take a look at these. So it seems like they have spent quite a little bit of time on the discs for the brakes, having multiple pieces for the front ones and the rear ones. Not really sure why they have included this. It is a nice detail, so you can see the venting from the side, but they have also added the resin centerpiece, so a bit confusing. And for the top surface detail, there are even more ones right here, for both sides having a drilled look. There are some interior details for the backs of the seats with a holder for your trash. Just a nice netting that is in on the bottom of the seats on the back. Cool detail to see. Also some parts for the speakers, a couple of pieces for all of the window trim all round, which still needs to be added and painted, but looks nice and sharp. There is a big plaque here as well, as they usually add in these kits. Doesn't do it for me, but it is still a nice add-on with a couple of license plates with the Audi ones, and also just the clean ones, so you can add your own plate on it. A bit of seatbelt material, again, not my favorite. I'd rather have the ones from fabric than these metal ones, but the detailing on here is super sharp. For various other bits and bobs around the in and exterior, there's a couple more smaller sheets of photo etch as well. There's a couple sets of stickers and decals included. These are just the metal transfer stickers for the logos, a really nice one for the center of the steering wheel, the RS4, some of the rear view mirrors, and the Audis. And then there's two sort of decal sheets. This one is more of a 3D metal decal, more like the metal transfer stickers. As you could see earlier, you simply just slide them in place and they are stuck there permanently, but have a super nice metal 3D finish to them. And then for all of the final details, there is also just a decal sheet with a couple of buttons for on the center console, the gauges, and other details all around. And then finally, there are the clear parts for the main glass. You've already seen the ones in the cast resin for the front and rear, but these are just for all around. The window for the front, the rear, some of the indicator pieces, and probably the brake lights here and there, and the side windows too. If you're interested in purchasing this kit, I will be leaving links down in the description below to Alpha Model and also to my webshop, thescalemodelingchannel.com, where you can find a lot of materials for the hobby and various other bits and bobs for scale modelers.